Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And boy, do I have an awesome guest for you today. His name is John Rossman. Now, he's a leadership and digital transformation expert and also an author of 3 books on leadership and business innovation. He is an early Amazon executive who had a key role in launching the Amazon Marketplace business in 2002. Yeah, that's right, guys. You heard that right. And today, he is leading keynote speaker on leadership for innovation, transformation, and AI, artificial intelligence, and has given over 200 keynotes to the worldwide audience. He served as a senior innovation advisor at T-Mobile and senior technology advisor to the Gates Foundation. Please welcome, guys, John to the stage. Oh my goodness, John, I am super excited to have you here today.
Kay, thank you very much. Nice to meet you, and thanks for having me on Make Your Mark.
Absolutely. Now, I've got so many questions for you, right? But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I would love for you to share with our audience today a little bit about your journey and how you managed to get into innovation and technology and leadership and do all the things that you've done.
Well, it wasn't by plan. I would say that much. So I studied engineering in college. I studied industrial engineering in college. And what I've always been interested in is the combination of efficiency, quality, ergonomics, and integration. And so if I look across kind of the arc of my career, what I've always been interested in is solving problems and making things more efficient to work better. And so I was a partner at Arthur Andersen. I was then at Amazon. I got to launch and scale the marketplace business in 2002. So I was there for just about 4 years. It was an incredible experience. I left Amazon in late 2005, started working with my clients on solving hard problems, digital transformation, digital strategies. And it was several years after I left Amazon that a client of mine at the Gates Foundation came to me and he goes, you know, you do a really nice job of putting the little strategies and anecdotes of Amazon delicately into play into our mission and into the work that we're doing. And he goes, I think you should write a book about it. And so I released the first edition of The Amazon Way in 2014. That book now has 3 editions, over 13 languages. And I've done 2 other books. Actually, I've done a 3rd book, which will be released next year that we can talk about. But everything that connects my work, I write a newsletter called the Digital Leader Newsletter, my books, my keynotes, my client advisory work, the coaching that I do. It's all about helping you create a better experience and a better culture to solve problems for your customers and have better business results. That's everything that I do is focus on that mission.
Oh my goodness. And so, okay, I'm intrigued. At what point did you know or realize that this is what you wanted to do?
I'm a slow learner. It took a long time. What I did was I just kept following hard problems, right? And I would notice in my work that if things became too operational, too steady state, if things became too good, that I would get bored with it, right? And so I was always hunting problems. And the interesting insight is you become invaluable to a business if you're a problem solver. And so that actually was like the turbo booster to my career and why I made partner at a young age at Arthur Andersen and was able to have the success I had. It wasn't really by this realization. And it was really after I would say I wrote my third book, a book called Think Like Amazon, 50 and a half ideas to become a digital leader. I released that in 2019. It's really the complement to the Amazon way. So it's the full playbook of all the impact, all the little strategies from Amazon. And I was like, oh, this is what I consistently like to do. I like to work with clients, see the patterns, figure out a way to create an approach, an algorithm, some systems that you can pass forward to others, write a book about it, and then kind of keep going from that angle. And so that's really where I've kind of fallen into this pattern of write, talk, practice, and then kind of rinse and repeat.
Wow. Okay. Now, you started all this at a young age, right? Your journey started really early on. And so,
don't all of our journeys start at an early age?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, regards to career and kind of directing yourself and working with Amazon and things like that, that people don't always know what it is that they want to do, where they should be going next. But I guess you were really interested in technology and leadership at a young age. Was that right? Or did that come later on down the line?
No, because it was easy, So I was coming of age. I graduated engineering in 1988, right at the dawn of the PC era. And I was a young professional when the digital transformation went. Netscape went public in 1995, and that was just the go-go days of Internet 1.0. But it was easy to see the impact that technology would have on what I liked to do, which was to help businesses run a better business. And so that was always my interest in technology. Wasn't an inherent interest in the technology itself. It was, oh, this is a not just a tool, but at times magic to help businesses solve problems. Now, the thing that I've realized time and time again is it's just one of the key levers that's required in order to solve problems. And that's where kind of the combination of strategy, how do we solve a problem, technology and other tools, what do we do to solve the problem, and then leadership. How do we actually lead to solve problems? It's really that combination of levers that I always pull, because it's never just one lever to solve a sufficiently hard problem. You need multiple levers to solve really hard problems.
Right. And so technology is just one of them, like you said. What would you say in your experience are all the other levers?
Yeah, pretty extensive. And that's really where I've leaned into on my books is, people have this, I would say, kind of glossy relationship with this concept of leadership. And what I mean by that is, like, we all look at it like it's this endowment or something glamorous that charismatic people have, or that some people just seem to have. Now, there is some natural orientation to it, but leadership is a skill and it can be developed by anybody. But what you have to realize is that different missions need different types of leadership. And so the specific mission that I focus in on leaders is the mission of innovation. How do we actually grow and change? And what most senior leaders don't really understand is that their operations, everything that they've become excellent at, and their management skill set, their leadership skill set for running their existing business, is actually oftentimes exactly the opposite of what they need to do, believe, communicate when you are trying to innovate and change the business. And that's why the success rate of most digital transformations, innovation programs, big bets, the success rate is horribly low, because we try to lead these exactly the same way as we try to lead our operations, and it fundamentally doesn't work. And that's the problem that I address in leadership.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, talking about innovation and leadership together. Now, you said that you started back in 1988, and I know technology has come so far since then, right? Now, when you were doing that, when you was in tech and you knew that, oh my goodness, this is one of the ways, you can help business. This is awesome. Did you ever suspect or think, oh, technology is going to take over? Or what? Or was it you sure what was going to happen with it? What did you foresee?
Well, and I still believe in the progress that technologies can make. It was less than a year ago that ChatGPT sprung upon us, right? And it was like another one of those kind of like, oh, this is different moments. Like when you don't, I don't even know if you were alive back then, but in 1995, when the first browsers were coming to the internet, right? It was really 93, 94. Netscape went public in 95. And the first time that you actually used a browser and saw a functioning website and you could intuit, oh, this is going to be different and everything, right? So you didn't know exactly or even specifically how the technology was going to change society, change business, but you inherently knew that it was. And so I still have that same orientation today, which is, we are on a progress curve. It's not going to change. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but you do have to be in the game of continually trying to innovate and leverage and learn about these technologies and the methods that go along with them, so that you recognize the moments when you should do an experiment, you should try something new, and develop those capabilities within your organization.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I've got a cheeky question as well. I'm going to be very cheeky, John.
Okay.
So
I'm set.
When you were working with Amazon, right, in the early-ish stages, right? I mean, they've grown as well. What was
I mean, that's the understatement of the year there. Yes, they have grown just a little bit. Yes.
Right. What was some of the I guess main challenges as they were growing that you saw needed correcting and changing, and how did you go in and help them?
Yeah. So it was the early days of Amazon, 2002. What just to set the context a little bit. So today, Amazon is an approximately $580 billion annual revenue company. In 2002, we had our first $1 billion quarter. So we were a sub $4 billion revenue company at that point. 90% of the business was books, music, video, first party retailers. So we would buy the inventory and we would sell the inventory. My mission, my job was to launch a marketplace where we would have hundreds and thousands of sellers selling in different categories to our customers. And so the essential, really hard problem that we had to solve for was, how do we create a really trusted customer experience and scale to tens of thousands of sellers very quickly? That is actually a really hard problem. And that was the essential strategy and business that I got to launch and lead for a couple of years. And you'll have to read The Amazon Way and Think Like Amazon to dive into that a little deeper.
Awesome. Now, there's something that you mentioned there, building trust. Right now, building trust with customers, with your team, and just having that culture in the business, it takes time, right? It's not something that happens overnight. And so with anyone that has a business, whether they're starting off or they're growing and they're scaling, what would you say, in your experience, will be the number one thing in order to build trust and that culture in the business as they move forward?
That's a really good question. And here's the number one thing about trust. And this is both with people in your life, with your customers, to some degree with yourself, of trusting yourself, which is the way I see trust. Trust means setting and keeping commitments. It's really that simple. If you set and keep commitments, somebody's going to trust that they know what they're going to get from you.
Mm.
Now, there's two key components to the way I'm defining trust, right? The first is you have to set expectations. The second is then you have to hit those expectations. And kind of the buried third part of that is you want to let the other party know that you hit those expectations, right? But the two important ones are setting expectations and then hitting those expectations. And all too often, what people don't do is they don't actually make a smart commitment. And then, of course, they don't hit the commitment. But if you don't set what the expectation is, then it's a vague understanding as to, well, what is the commitment? And therefore, that's part of the problem where companies and individuals get sideways on trust, is because I set a vague commitment to you, then it's open to your interpretation and my interpretation as to whether I hit that commitment or not.
Oh, wow. Wow. And so when it comes to implementing things like this, right, from the very beginning, and building trust is really important. I think a lot of business owners, leaders, they kind of forget about that and kind of focus on the money and clients and, marketing and getting out there. What are some of the mistakes in your experience, once again, that you keep seeing time and time again, and you feel like, this can be easily solved?
Yeah, that's another good question. There's lots of things that go underneath that. There's not one thing, but here's one thing that people don't, that business leaders tend to not understand, is they don't understand inputs versus outputs, and then putting metrics around those inputs and outputs. So, for example, you mentioned they manage the fundamentals or the financials of the business. Well, that financials are a lagging output of the business. The inputs that you need to focus on in order to get there are A, having a great product or service, one that is actually competitive in the market. B, appropriately letting customers and the market know about the product. C, is delivering it every single day. Those are the inputs that lead to the outputs we all want, which is growth, profitability, all of those other things. And so separating out inputs from outputs and focusing on the controllable inputs, that's the whole key to having, control of what your business is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Now, we touched up on this a little earlier today, where you talk about AI and Chat GTP. Now, there's so many business owners out there that say, oh my goodness, I don't understand this. I don't know AI. I don't get technology. I'm going to keep away from it. What are your thoughts to that?
Yeah, so I write a Substack newsletter called the Digital Leader Newsletter. You can find it on Substack. You can subscribe for free. I've been talking a bit about this, and the thing that people want to do is they want to immediately apply technology, whether it's Chat GPT or other technology, to a business function or to a business process. The most important thing you need to do is actually define what the function is. What are the outputs that we want from the function? What are the inputs that go into it? How do we make it as value added as possible and strip it down to its bare metal of everything is value added about it? And then apply technology to it, not the inverse, right? And so you first define and simplify a function or step, and then apply technology. I just released a newsletter edition this morning, and it was about the new Elon Musk book by Walter Isaacson. And the thing I honed in on was the name of the Substack was delete, delete, delete. So Elon has an algorithm for how he accomplishes the really hard engineering and business problems that he wants to accomplish, whether it's SpaceX, Boring Company, Tesla, or whatever, right? And Isaacson outlines this in the book several times, and it's called the algorithm, right? But the key to the algorithm is challenge every requirement, delete, 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 and then apply automation and technology, right? So it's the same mindset again, which is truly define the value added activity and make it as essential and as simple as possible, and then apply technology. That's not what most business people want to do. They want to do the comfortable thing, which is, oh, this is a technical problem. We can apply technology without really, as a team, rationalizing what do we do? Why is it value added? What shouldn't we be doing that we do today? And then applying technology.
I like that. I like that. Okay, so people are doing that on the reverse. But do you find that a lot of businesses are probably doing that on the reverse because they're like, oh my goodness, we got to get on top of this technology. We got to be others. We're going to get left behind.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, and that's a good reaction, but you have to go about it in both a systematic manner and as well as in an experimental manner. And so if you approach everything as an experiment, well, what do you do with an experiment? Well, first of all, you decide, well, what do I want to test? Then you create a hypothesis, and then you find the cheapest way possible in order to test it. And then you keep doing that time and time and time and time again. And if you do that in a systematic way, then you're learning and you're making progress. But too often, companies they start off with this incredible enthusiasm, but then they quickly lose that clarity and they lose that velocity, and they don't go about things in an experimental mindset. Instead, they make big commitments up front. And those are the core reasons why all these innovation programs and digital transformations fail.
Interesting. That is very different perspective to a lot of us and what we have about technology.
Which is actually a good tee up. So I have a new book being released next February. It's called Big Bet Leadership, Your Transformation Playbook for Winning in the Hyper Digital Era. And that book is all about these topics that we're talking about how do we think? How do we create an environment in which we can experiment? And how do we actually manage these types of major transformations? So you can find it at Amazon, or you can read more about it. You can. I have a website up called bigbetleadership.com, and you can learn more about the book there.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic! Now I know at this point, John, people are like, oh my goodness, I need to speak with John. I need to connect with him. So where can they go to come and connect with you? Maybe even speak with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So johnrossman.com is a site. You can send me contact information. LinkedIn is always easy, right? John Rossman, or bigbetleadership.com.
Brilliant, brilliant. John, it was a pleasure having you on this show. So many golden nuggets in such a short amount of time. Thank you so much.
Kay, thank you for welcoming me, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.